All government, in its essence, is a conspiracy against the superior man. Its one permanent object is to oppress him and cripple him. Henry Mencken. This is Citadelium, Episode 9, and I'm your host, Yuri Degaya. Today I want to talk a little more about the parasites, and if you have been to my blog, you know that I have written an article about the parasites called On the Parasites. If you haven't yet, then please proceed to thegaia.co and read it. I think you will find it a little more interesting in terms of the introduction to the parasites and why I call some people parasites. Here I just want to revisit it and comment a little bit on it and expand it a little further by adding some color to it. In the blog article, I described not only what the parasites are, but I also described the hierarchy that the parasitic element has in our society. And I also attached an image, as you can see on the website. And this image is already quite familiar to a lot of people, I think. It surely reminds you of many conspiracies that are out there, quite popular ones, and it is it's not for no reason that it does remind you of a conspiracy, because it pretty much is a conspiracy or conspiracy theory, and I'm not the inventor of this theory, obviously, so I'm just kind of, trying to put it all in my words and my understanding of things so that it's clearer to you where I come from in terms of my thinking. At the same time, of course, buyer beware, this may be completely false, so I'm just explaining to you my understanding of the world right now, because we all have to have some kind of a background understanding of how things operate in this world, so that we can actually go ahead and take action in this world based on that understanding. I don't think it's very wise to just go about the world completely blind and, shoot in the dark. You have to have some kind of a conviction. You have to have some kind of understanding. And I'm not the type of person who wants to sit on the fence and just be ready to jump left or right. It's good, of course, to stay open-minded. It's good to be open to any other ideas, but at the same time, you have to take a side at some point. You have to take a side so that you can take action. And this is why I decided to describe a little bit what's going on in my head in terms of how I see the world, and this is pretty much it. It's not difficult, and you have seen such theories many times in many different places. And my conspiracy, I guess, is pretty much the dollar bill conspiracy, because the image that you see in the blog also reminds you of that pyramid image on the dollar bill with the all-seeing eye of the essentially the rulers. And I'm not talking here about the Illuminati, New World Order, and things like that. I just don't label them as such. I'm just talking about the parasites here and how they are different from the rest of the people. So, as you can see, this theory, this understanding of mine does have to do with one world government, essentially. But the difference is that I think that we're not really heading towards a one world government. We are already there. It's just not formal yet, but informally we are already there, and there are official bodies of this world government, and I think the UN, the World Bank, and all those organizations are pretty good examples of those bodies that essentially rule the world as best as they can, obviously, because it's a huge undertaking to try to rule the whole planet and to try to steer the lives of billions of people in a certain direction. And I don't think they will succeed eventually, but nevertheless, this is where we are right now. And of course, the second thing that I wanted to mention about this is that it's not the way that they try to portray it in popular culture or in some novels like 1984, in the movie V for Vendetta, those revolutionary movies where there's a tyrannical, totalitarian government. Everything is completely, controlled, and all lives are micromanaged through total surveillance. It's not like this outright in your face. It's rather packaged in consumerist products. So, for example, they don't have to convince you to install a camera in your house. They don't have to convince you to install microphones in your house. All they have to do is to convince you to buy those nice, shiny new gadgets like iPhones and new phones and those Alexa devices, and that's it. They have it. Instead of trying to impose this kind of a totalitarian spying regime on you by force, they decided to mold your perception of reality, to change your habits, and to instill a consumerist mindset in you, so that you just go ahead and buy it yourself. As a matter of fact, you will be willing to wait in line for the next new iPhone or Android phone or whatever that is. You welcome it in your life, and I think this is pretty genius. And obviously, it tells you that they are experts in terms of psychology, in terms of human nature. They know how this works, and I think they've been practicing it for quite a while, and that's why they are so good at it. So, what I'm trying to say here is that the masses are quite gullible. They are susceptible to all kinds of propaganda, to all kinds of suggestion, as they call it. Essentially, in ancient times, it was called pretty much black magic. This screwing around with the human psyche, trying to hypnotize, mesmerize people. And, today in business, for example, it's used in high pressure sales techniques as well. This is all of this was considered black magic back then, but right now it's considered psychology, psychological manipulation and stuff like that. So you can sell to the mass man a lot of stuff with proper techniques. And I want to add that if you want to lie to the people, I think what makes a big difference is that you have to lie big as well. The most stupid, the most egregious lie has a higher chance of being believed by the masses than the smaller ones out there. And that's why there have been lots of conspiracies out there that actually turned out to be quite true, conspiracy facts, because people didn't believe in them because they were too too crazy, right? And I think that a very tight, a very focused group of people can have a conspiracy, can conspire in a way that lasts many generations, because specifically for this reason, because most people will not believe it, because the majority of people in this world, they are so disorganized, they are so consumed with other aspects of their lives. Their attention spans are so small that they can't possibly imagine having this kind of tight conspiracy that can last for generations. Some kind of a group of people that are so dedicated to their ultimate goal that they will raise their children with their mindset, and their children will raise their children with their mindset. And I'm not talking about some perfect people. They're definitely not better. They're just a little more focused than the rest of us, I guess. And obviously, there may be bad apples among them as well, and most likely those bad apples are quickly eliminated if they cause problems. So I think a lot of people refuse to believe it, and not only the people from the masses, but the masses also include the intellectual class, and the intellectuals don't believe such conspiracies because they think that everything is defined by human action, which is correct, of course. The law of cause and effect in society, something I mentioned in the previous episode of Citadelium. But in Austrian economics, there's this term praxeology, and Mises wrote about this in his treatise on economics called Human Action quite extensively. So if you haven't read it, it's not an introduction to Austrian economics in any way. It's a pretty heavy book. So if you're interested, go ahead and read it. I think it will expand your mind in terms of how the world works as well from the economic point of view. But a lot of intellectuals basically think that the world is this messy, decentralized thing with lots of independent actors acting, and I completely agree with them on that. But I don't think that actually excludes a certain tendency for other people to actually organize, and specifically based on this knowledge that the world is messy and decentralized. Some people can organize and essentially be even hidden from the masses because the masses don't believe they can even exist, right? It's like imagine having a secret society and just spreading such outright lies and bizarre stories about the secret society that most people actually don't believe that secret society exists. It's a perfect cover, and that's a similar situation here. You have to essentially operate in a messy world, but you yourself are not that messy. You are a lot more organized, and the world is not going to believe that you actually exist. So this is what it is. Yeah. To summarize, the world is, the world has many different actors who may compete and with each other and go to war with each other, but it doesn't mean that a group of people who can have an agenda and essentially be guided by certain principles, it doesn't mean that this group cannot exist. And I actually mentioned it in my article. I think that, as you can see on the image of the hierarchy of the parasites, that the top layer of the parasites is a little bit separated from the rest of them, and I think the rest of them are essentially more of regular people, and those people, sure, they can fight with each other, they can be in a competitive state of affairs, and the people at the top, they don't really try to navigate and try to direct all those people below them in a particular direction. Rather, what they do is they kind of observe what happens, and they back the parties that they think will win. Most of the time, they just back both sides of the conflict, because if you back both sides of the conflict, you cannot lose. You win either way. Yes, there is no concrete evidence that such a group exists, and I don't know who they are, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen either, right? Because if you think about it, for example, international banks, they launder a lot more money than than what they say about Bitcoiners. They launder money day and night, and they can be doing it for years before they are caught, right? Before they are caught red-handed. Does it mean that they don't launder money when they are not caught? It doesn't mean that, and obviously, so when you request evidence for every single claim and don't accept any claim whatsoever, and you refuse to even think about that, I don't think that's the right approach. I think there is always food for thought in some claims. Obviously, you don't want to be exposed to too many of them from, all kinds of crazy people. And I may be crazy as well, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But you have to, consider different scenarios, because the world, as we know, is not the way it appears on the screen, and the way it is propagated by the mass media, the internet, even the internet, or the TV screen, newspapers. It's a different world out there. So I would urge you to look at things from different angles and try to make up your own mind on what it is, and what it is the place that you live in, right? So. If you don't see hard evidence for something, but you kind of have a feeling that something is wrong, then by all means go ahead and explore all kinds of ideas, because I think that will help you a lot in the future. And at the same time, when the truth actually comes out to the surface, and I believe that truth does always come up eventually, then you won't be so surprised, right? So if it does indeed turn out that there is some kind of a elite group of people who actually pull the strings for the most part in the world, I will not be surprised, because that's what I've been thinking. I've been thinking in this direction for some time now. If it is never proven, then, well, I will either change my mind at some point in the future when I get more evidence, or I will just keep thinking that that's still the case, and I just haven't, I haven't discovered who they are throughout my life, and it remains a secret, a very well-guarded secret in the world, and I think it has been a well-guarded secret for quite some time now. So, at the same time, think about what we are trying to do here with our citadels and rebuilding civilization, and trying to install, new ways of living together, trying to develop the market of living together. We are actually trying to become such a group, aren't we? Because it is not the masses, but only a few dedicated individuals who have always done something of value, something of impact in the world. The masses have never been this moving force. They have only been the tool which the few dedicated individuals use to achieve their goals. So we are trying to become those individuals as well. We're trying to become such a group. The main difference is that when the few individuals actually rule or govern, their respective citadels, countries, and whatnot, who actually gets to govern, right? And this is the bigger question: is it the good guys or the bad guys that get to govern? And right now, unfortunately, I think it is for the most part the bad guys who are in charge, and they've organized so well that they can actually pull the strings in pretty much any part of the world and make things happen there. If they want, they can organize a revolution here and there. They can crush the markets. They can spread complete and total lies in terms of certain diseases and things like that. So to make people fearful, because this is how they operate, right? And as opposed to them, then there's the good guys, the aristocracy, the true aristocracy, the natural elites, the philosopher kings, who are very, very few in this world, but who have existed throughout the ages, and who show up sometimes to reclaim what's theirs, essentially. I think they are coming back, and some of us may be part of that natural elite. I don't claim to be one of them, but I'm just telling you what I see is happening, and I think a lot of the people, even that I know, have a big chance of becoming essentially the ruling class of the future, but these are inherently good people, and while you may say, well, they'll get they'll get rich and powerful and they will get corrupted. I'm not talking about those people, because people who are rich and powerful are already corrupted in their soul, but the truly good person will not be corrupted by any of those things, because a truly good person actually serves the rest of the people and uses things like money and power as tools only, but not the end in themselves, right? It's only a means to an end, but not the end. So um, so again, who are these parasites at the very top? I can say I don't know who they are. They can be Russians, they can be Jews, they can be reptilian aliens, they can be like aliens from other dimensions. I have no idea. I just understand that they are probably a few hundred individuals with real names, faces, addresses. They have their own private lives and maybe public lives. Maybe they don't have public lives, but if they do, they hide their private lives and the fact that they belong to this, pretty much a secret group, very, very well. And you know. There, like I said, there is no hard evidence. None of them have been caught red-handed yet, I think, but we will see whether they are united by an ethnic principle or religious principle, or simply by an idea, the way that I think we will be united in the future based on merit and the principles and ideas. Doesn't really make much difference, because what is important is that they are few, and they have managed to manipulate the vast majority of people, right? So that is the only thing that we need to know, and it's I don't think it's like cutting the heads of a hydra when you try to fight these guys. It's more like there's just one head that you need to cut, and that head may be represented by several people, by maybe several hundred people, but they're still there, and they are still people, I think. As much as we like joking about aliens and things like that, although I don't discount any of those theories either, you never know. Truth is stranger than fiction. So I think it is quite possible to eventually learn who they are, and obviously knowing the problem is the first step to solving it, and knowing your enemy is the first step to conquering your enemy and defeating your enemy. So but before that, if another 5, 10, 20, 50 years passes and we never learn who they are, so we can either conclude that they don't exist, or they are just really, really good at hiding. So that's what we can assume here. Nevertheless, I think it's good that we have Bitcoin right now, and we have a lot of people who are waking up to all kinds of injustices in the world, and at the very least, people are waking up to the fact that they are being lied to in terms of how the monetary system is designed, and that is probably the most major way that the parasites have been able to conquer the world, is through the monetary policies, through the financial system, the central banking system, and this is what we're trying to undo here, and I think we will be successful. They will obviously try to co-opt Bitcoin, to destroy it, to manipulate it, to hijack the brand, to do all kinds of things to it. I think this time it will be a lot more difficult for them, so they will have to resort mostly to social attacks rather than to social and so-called custody attacks as well, rather than technical attacks. They have tried those and they have failed, but we never know. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. This episode gave you a little more commentary on what I think the parasites are, and you may completely disagree with me, and that is completely fine with me. Like I said, I'm just divulging to you what I believe, and this knowledge may change as time goes, and maybe deep down, I actually hope it's not true, because then it's really kind of a pessimistic view of the world if you think about it. Because how is it that the vast majority of people, billions of people, have been lied to in this matter for centuries pretty much? It sucks, right? It's not something to be proud of. You essentially admit that the human race is quite stupid, and this is this is quite a strong admission here. So with that said, I hope you liked the episode. Check out thegaia.co for more episodes, and find Citadelium on YouTube, Anchor, and other platforms that you prefer. That said, until next time.